Welcome back to another episode of the Live Better podcast, brought to you by Centric. I'm your host, Kelly, and today we've got a very special episode lined up for you. August is here, and while the summer might be winding down, it's actually one of the best times to hit the reset button on your finances. Each week this month, we've been sharing quick and practical tips to help you budget smarter, save more, and reduce money stress just before the year-end rush begins. Today, we're diving deeper into those tips with someone who knows this territory inside and out. Casey joins us to share real-world advice, simple strategies, and maybe even a few personal stories to help you tackle everything from back-to-school spending to sneaky subscriptions, all the way to getting a jump on your holiday savings. Well, Casey, good morning and welcome to the Live Better podcast. It is so great to have you here. We're going to dive in and talk about a topic that we know you're very familiar with back to school, savings, overall expenses, and how different little expenses here or there can really add up and impact your budget in a big way. So welcome, and just share with our listeners. It's been a couple months since you've been here with us. So tell us who you are, what you do here at Centric, and a little bit about why you're excited to talk about these tips today.
Yeah, well, I'm very excited. So I'm Casey. I've been with the Credit Union for about 10 years, maybe a little more. And my role right now is training, but I've held several different roles at the Credit Union. One of those being in the Marketing and Business Development Department, where I actually went out and worked with our employers in the community that partner with us and teach the financial education. So that part for me is really special, like you said. And so I'm just really excited to be here and shared some of the tips. I think just from being able to see the impact of sharing and having conversations with people about their real life situations is really what gets me excited to talk about it.
I love it. We've lived in ourselves.
We have.
We're going through the back to school experiences, and there's a quote, and I wish I knew who actually first said this, but going back to school is more costly than Christmas and the cost of gifts and so forth. And it's true. You know, I have 2 children, and the cost to go back to school just to pay school fees, just in school fees, those are their little clubs and everything. It's been over $220 just to get them into school. And my children go to a public school, and it's just expensive. So I know that everyday expenses, you got to account for every dollar.
Right.
Yeah. So if you wouldn't mind, why do you really and truly think that August is such a key month for maybe revisiting our finances?
Well, we talked about the idea of the mid-year reset, and I really think just kind of looking at that through the whole year, it makes sense because starting now and really before now, we're about to have all kinds of expenses. So, the school fees are up front. We know about that and we can prepare it if we're ready for it. But then there's things that continue to happen. So if you don't take a pause and look at where you're at, it's just going to continue to either be catastrophic for you, or it's going to, it's going to help you if you're prepared. So
I love that. If you're planning and if you're prepared for this, it could be catastrophic. So one of the newest things that we have with our Centric Credit Union app is the ability to verify your credit score, review your credit report, which is a great way to identify if things are reporting correctly, or if you might see there could be some identity issues there. But something that I love so much about this, especially when you're thinking about a mid-year reset, is our budgeting tools that we have through Insights, and it is incredible. So kind of take us through, what does that look like? How do people set that up? You just want to maybe just share that with our listeners.
Yeah, so I'll just kind of use this time of year as a good example that you're getting ready to go back to school, and maybe, you've taken a second and you understood, okay, I have this much to spend on back to school, or I know it's going to cost this much based on my school supply list and the things, the clubs, like you mentioned, the school fees. So you can use the Insights to create a budget for that. And so inside of that particular area inside the app, you can tag your transactions once you've set up that budget. So, let's just label it back to school budget. And you can pick the accounts that are a part of that. And so, let's just say it's your pro-rail or your checking account, which makes the most sense, right? You're using your checking account, you're swiping your debit card, and you want to go in and just kind of label certain transactions. If this transaction at Walmart was for school supplies, and it will help you calculate that. And it can even give you reminders on where you're at with that budget. So it'll help you stay on track instead of just spending, however you want and hoping it all works out for the best.
That's not a good strategy
No.
at all.
No.
It'll lead you down a catastrophic path pretty quickly.
Yeah.
So just for our listeners, I just want to kind of run this through, but we're specifically talking about the Centric Credit Union app. This is a free personal financial management tool that is available to every one of our members who downloads our app. And as you are using your debit card and you're making transactions, you can see exactly how that is impacting your overall budgets. You name your budget, whether it's a grocery, auto, fuel expense. You can name these anything you want. And as you tag those transactions, that means every time you swipe your card, each transaction that you see, you can tag those to state, like you mentioned, back to school or groceries. I even have set it up to have notifications. It says, whenever I've reached about 80% of my budget, I really want to know kind of where I'm at, because it's giving me insight to say, hey, hang on a minute, you need to be aware of where your finances are. So that has been a really helpful thing for me in just managing this. Once you set it up, it only takes a few minutes. Once you tag those transactions, so for example, if you have a particular grocery store that you go to every single month or week, once you tag that vendor, you can say Walmart, Amazon, Target, any of these places. Once you tag those, say it's groceries or clothing or fuel, it will always tag those businesses or those different retail outlets as that particular budget. And that's what I love about it, because you don't have to go back in and make any changes.
Right.
Yeah, it's just easy.
Yeah.
So that's something that's really great. It just takes one accountability for this August mid-year reset, like you've mentioned, and just to go ahead and say, okay, ideally, and what I liked about it, did you ever have an experience when you were going through setting it up just to see, because it would go ahead and kind of categorize some things for you. How was that experience for you when you first experienced Insights?
Well, it knows what are food vendors in their transactions. So it actually used the words dining out.
Yeah.
And it was like, all of my budget. And so it was really eye-opening to see how much it went ahead and tagged that for me. It was so nice for it to just do that on default, but it did show me how much I was spending up my budget on eating out. And to me, that wasn't, I didn't like what I saw. So I was able to make changes because it gave me that information.
And this is the great time to do that, because even though if you've not even opened up the app and checked this out, this information is still working in the background for you.
Right.
So if you're getting ready to create a budget, you can go ahead and reflect on maybe the previous month and say, oh, wow. So this is kind of where it is, because that's a big hurdle, because you may think, well, I don't really know what my budget needs to be for fuel or what my budget needs to be for groceries, especially as we're getting to the holidays. Our grocery budgets might increase because we're cooking maybe a little more or more specialty items or what have you for the holidays. But it gives you a really good insight, I think, to see right away where your expenses are heading. So it's great. It's a good tool to get you started for sure. So as we're just kind of wrapping up, I did just want to just ask you a couple final things too. Is there anything in particular, maybe a simple action step that our listeners can take today to get on a better financial track?
Yeah, well, some of the words that we've talked about, sneaky spending, just in particular, just thinking about needs versus wants, it's a basic concept that we talk about. Really, especially during this time and even moving forward as we move into the holidays, taking, time to sit down and understand what you really do need or what your child needs for school versus what they want or what, you want to give them.
Mm-hmm.
If that doesn't sit in the budget, your future self really is going to thank you for that. In the moment, it might feel like, oh, I'm not able to give them extra, or I might not, be able to do this right now, but maybe you can do it later. Just thinking about that, and then sneaky spending, how that fits in there too, is if we aren't already aware of what we need versus what we want, we're just going to combine those together, and our wants are going to kind of ruin our budget, really. Taking my kids with me shopping, I'm not aware of what I'm doing. So there's several factors that can affect that, but just really being aware of what you need and not just going for it.
The awareness is so important. And like I said, that's what I love so much about the mobile app, our Insights, that option that's right. You can choose it right from the menu when you download the Centric Credit Union app. By choosing Insights, it will go ahead and kind of give you an idea of where you are, what you've spent on dining out, clothing, all these different categories, and you can create those categories for yourself. But it's a really good insight to say, okay, hang on a minute. We may be a little off track right now, but we can get it back on track once you're made aware, and then you hold yourself accountable. And setting up those automatic alerts, I think, are really great in ensuring that you stay on track. It's a good accountability piece for sure. Well, I just want to give a big thank you to Casey again for just sharing these practical tips with us, because this has been great. And especially as we're kind of winding out summer and getting kicked off for the final month. So I just want to tell you, thank you so much for being here and sharing this with our listeners.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
You bet. I want to give a big thank you to Casey for sharing such practical, easy to use strategies. We know our listeners are walking away with ideas they can put into action right away. Remember, whether it's resetting your budget, planning for back to school, cutting out sneaky spending, or getting a head start on holiday savings, every small step makes a big difference over time. If you haven't already, download or open your Centric Credit Union app. It's your one-stop financial control center. And explore the tools that we talked about today. You can find more resources, tips, and inspiration at mycentric.org. Centric is federally insured by the NCUA.